Yeah, I call it NXT face because it's literally no, we have a thumbnail for that.
There it is.
It's like, I can't believe he kicked out like they all kick out every single week. Oh my God, what am I going to do now? It's just, if everything is a false finish, nothing is a false finish. How's that?
Mm.
That's the problem. And you were saying how, like, here, should there even be a concept of a finishing move in wrestling today? Um, when should false finishes or finishing move kickouts be employed, if ever? I'm going to tell you right now what it used to be. Finishes were always protected, never prostituted out. That's a saying. We say prostitute your finish until WrestleMania. Nobody kicked out. And even a lot of times, nobody kicked out of WrestleMania. Look at Hogan's matches. The ones with Savage, the ones where only the Warrior, even before and after WrestleMania 6, hardly anybody up until Rock at 18 kicked out of the leg drop. Warrior and Rock. Think about that. Hogan only had two.
Sid as well, WrestleMania 8.
Dead. I'm
But that was due to different circumstances because Papa Shango was late,
that
supposedly.
they had to do that. Yeah. So let's say 3 times in how many dozens of WrestleManias Hogan wrestled on. The finish, if he dropped the leg today, if he could, it would be over because it's known as a finish. So, with that being said, in this day and age, there's so many pay-per-views and now 3 hours of TV. How are you gonna get a 20-minute match unless you kick out of my finish, I kick out of yours? That's a thing where at least Russo's Attitude Era Crash TV, you were in and out in 6 to 8 minutes, and you didn't have enough time to expose and over how should I say, over prostitute a finish or a move that you wanna get over. That's the problem. Too many hours of TV, too many long matches every single week, where before it used to be 4 to 6 minutes or maybe even a squash that was 3 minutes. The pay-per-views were 10, 12, 15, 20-minute matches, and there you go. It's hard though, because you know what that takes? That takes an immense amount of resisting your own ego to say, "This be cool. This be a good moment. They'll get a good pop, and I'll just be like this." But nobody sees that, like, I need to protect this so when someone finally kicks out of it, that dude is made. Do you recall
I'm trying to think.
anybody kicking out of Undertaker's finish outside of, like, maybe Shawn or Hunter? Like,
I was
wrestling.
just going to say.
Yeah.
I was just going to say Shawn Michaels when I don't know if that was the start of the O face or when everybody started ripping that off, but when the Shawn Michaels kicked out the tombstone and he's crosses the arms and then he gets kicked out of and then he's just like but that works then because no one kicks out the tombstone. But and I hate to pick on AEW, I know WWE does this a lot as well, but with AEW especially and I remember seeing this at All In last year, was FTR and the Young Bucks, and everyone said, "Oh, it was the best match on the card," and I didn't agree because I didn't know when I should be, if I was a regular fan, when I should be cheering, when I should be expecting a finish, because they both got several finishes and they both kicked out of all of them. So when eventually someone got pinned, it was a bit of a flat finish because when you kick out of 7 finishes and the eighth one works. It's tough as a fan to get with the pace of the match and when to expect what.
Well, it's that Japan is kind of the culprit of hitting big move, kick out, big move, finishes a roll up. That's basically the Japanese blueprint for a match, right? I'm gonna do all this heavy stuff and everything, but then I'm just gonna roll you up for a pin. Or hit the same finish again for the 40th time and then finally pin you. So I think sometimes, and this is just my opinion, and I've been guilty of it before. I've been guilty of this. Every wrestler out there and everybody who ever engages in any kind of content creation or any kind of like this kind of stuff or is a part of any show, you overinflate your ego to think your moment and what you have is going to be the best thing ever. we talked about during the Raven clip. Raven could use the scientific method to try to talk himself out of any idea. And then if it went through all that scrutiny and it was still a good idea, that would normally become a great idea. But when you're going to gaslight yourself into like, man, this is going to be so great. It's going to be so cool. They're going to use all the bad terms too. Not, this is going to draw money. We're really going to have a springboard to do some cool stuff for the next 6 months. Have you ever heard anybody in modern wrestling say, when we do this, we got 6 months of business? That's a Memphis Dutch Mantel, Jerry Lawler type of like discussion. They don't think about business. They think about the moment. Moments are important, but when you have a moment this week, then you have the same moment next week, then you have another moment like it the week after, or like you said, well, everything's a finish and everything's like, okay, they're both good. Who am I going to boo? Okay, they're both pandering. Who am I going to boo? Like, now you're out of the match. Now you're just sitting there watching and going, yeah, kill each other. Cool. I'll sit here and enjoy my drink.
With All In 2, I just want to give props to the Young Bucks, is because I thought they would do this and they didn't. They hit a finisher, whoever it was, one of FTR, I think, kick out. And then instead of doing the, oh my God, what are we going to do next? There was absolutely no time between them getting up and then hitting the next move, which I think might have won it for them. No, they didn't win, did they? I can't remember who won.
Yeah.
Maybe it was the Young Bucks.
You're huge. Well, you don't even know who won. So what kind of moment was it? You already moved on. No, you don't have to search for it. See, I'm already making my point.
Searching for it.
Here's what I was going to say, and it's going to warm your heart. You know who sold the best confused, like post kick out or post anything in any match in history? Bret Hart at the Montreal Screwjob. That look around like, because it was real. When they rang the bell as he was trying to put the sharpshooter on Shawn, and they got that close-up look after the bell rang, you remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that about as like the confused, I don't know what to do? This is uncharted territory right now in this moment. That should be after someone kicks out of a big move or a finish. You either go right into something else to try to beat them, or you look around like, what the F? What the F? And you're literally it's like Brett's face is, what just happened? What's going to happen next? And what do I do? That's it.
He goes through the 5 stages of acceptance in one facial expression there. But as you say, it's real, but he's just he doesn't pull any faces. He's just like, they did it. And that's what I read when he with his face there. He just went, they got me. And it's just one of those things where he's just processing it slowly.
He went to 5 stages of grief or whatever, acceptance. He did it, but then he was like, it's kind of like looking around like, is this stuff really happening right now? And then you're processing. Dude, it happened within 10 seconds max. But I got a whole gambit of thoughts, emotions, and anticipation to say, what's Bret going to do now? What's Shawn going to do? What's Vince going to do? What is going on here? That should be after every single false finish. It should intensify the fans' attention instead of saying, okay, I'm pretty tired from all these false finishes. Just end it.
I don't want to sound like, by the way, the Young Bucks did win. And
thank God.
do you know, I thought they were really great in that match as well. Not Jack Perry, Will Ospreay and MJF, because most people I think will say that was probably the best match of the show. But juxtapose that with the Young Bucks, you know, they hit a finisher, it doesn't work, they just go straight into the next finisher, and then I think they win. Or more or less, that's how it went at the end. Sorry, it was a week ago, I can't remember. I was drinking. And I wasn't watching it to review, I was watching it to watch it. So with the MJF and Will Ospreay match, they were obviously doing so many moves, you know, high risk, and they were landing everything. You know, it was really artfully done. But MJF did the same thing. He hit a finisher, or what potentially was a finisher, doesn't work. Then he went straight into another finisher. And then shortly afterwards, he hits a finisher that Will kicks out of. And then he does the like that. He does the Stevie Richards thumbnail pose as well. But the thing is ultimately, how should one react to somebody kicking out of a finisher? I'm sure it depends on the person, depends on the circumstances. What's the most realistic way? Just acceptance, moving straight into the next move, or the big panto shock? I mean, what's the best reaction for your money?
I would be really leaning towards the fact that nobody should kick out of anybody's finish. We should get back to that at least for a while until we've reset re-educating the fans that a finish is a finish. That we stop overcomplicating this and stop trying to Occam's razor, the straightest point. Just get to it. Wrestling is not something, it's a roller coaster ride. The false finishes are not and don't need to be part of the roller coaster ride of the shine, the heat, the hope spots, the comeback, and then the finish. That's your roller coaster ride. Take the false finishes out. If you are going to have them, save them for the main event. In other words, every match should have a straight up finish. Then when the false finish in the main event happens, and you know what that does? If I'm on the lower part of the card, I'm handcuffed. I can't throw punches maybe, or I can only throw a limited amount. I can't go over 8 to 10 minutes. We can't go outside. We have to wrestle. There's no stipulation. There's no blood feud. My motivation as a worker now, seeing people above me on the card, seeing people later on, besides more money, more pushes, titles, is that I have more creative freedom if I get over to that point. So we need to bring it back down to the foundation, dumb it down, give me shine, heat, maybe a hope spot or two, and a comeback and a finish. That's it. Give us that. And then when you re-deliver false finishes at All In, you re-deliver false finishes at WrestleMania, you're there. So my reaction to that, if you cannot properly react to it, which I would say many young people don't know how to do it. Now, when you get better and you learn how to do it and you watch how it should be done in a realistic fashion, we're going to start bringing it up on the card. You're going to start working those people. Because it only takes that one stupid little NXT face to create the meme. Let's get rid of all that. So I was somebody that would overcompensate my energy for lack of a push. So I was guilty of doing a lot of stuff, not so much, oh my God, I can't believe he kicked out, but I would go wacko and start trying to pull my hair out, pull my knee sleeves down, do all sorts of temper tantrum stuff that would get over, and then it cost me the match or do whatever. So I was trying to formulate it within my character and causing myself to lose the match. These guys don't do that. In other words, I lost my cool. I got off track. I got distracted. I let the opponent recover, and it cost me the match. That makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm. It's funny, Christian used to do that after he split up with Edge, and so did Dutch. So I don't know about Christian's reasoning, but Dutch always said, well, people won't remember the finish, they remember me more and you get me more heat for next time.
Absolutely.
And then you can bring it back, because then people will pay to see you lose and then do the temper tantrum afterwards as well.
Yeah. I pitched it this, well, now that I think about it, they might have took the idea and ran with somebody else. I wanted myself and Victoria to go through anger management because it kept costing us matches because and they did it with, I'm not saying they did it thinking of me, but they did the Daniel Bryan Kane thing with anger management. Now they got it over. They had Team Hell No and all that. But I remember pitching it we were going to have my therapist, advisor, psychologist every single week who was going to be an indie worker or developmental person that was going to try to, and then say, I can't help you. And then they would become a wrestler and somehow we would wrestle. So, yeah, become a psychologist and become a lower card professional wrestler. Makes perfect sense.
Well, you went to be a doctor later.
Yeah, I actually booked my own angle without even realizing it.
Yeah. You put your own PhD, man.
Haha.